does the process of digestion begins and completes respectively? First, let's define what digestion means. Digestion is the conversion of large food molecules in their simplest form. Why? To be used by our body cells. ስለዚህ እነዚህ ላርጅ የሆኑ ፉድ ሞለኪውሎችን ወደ ሲምፕለስት ፎርም የሚቀየርበት ፕሮሰስ ወይ ደግሞ ሂደት ዳይጀሽን ብለን እንጠራዋለን ማለት ነው። Let's say for example, carbohydrates must be converted into their simplest form, which is monosaccharide. The most commonly known monosaccharide is glucose, whereas proteins must be converted into amino acids, and then lipids, fats and oils must be converted into fatty acids and then glycerol. These are the end product of digestion. ስለዚህ እነዚህ ላርጅ የሆኑ ፉድ ሞለኪውሎችን በእያንዳንዱ የሰውነታችን ሴል ጥቅም ላይ ሁሉ ወደ ሲምፕለስት ፎርም መቀየር አለባቸው by the process called digestion. But where does the process of digestion starts? Where the process of digestion begins and completes? Good. Now let's see the main components of digestive system. Don't forget that the process of digestion starts in mouth, then esophagus, stomach, small intestine, then large intestine. These are the different components of the digestive system. The different components of the human alimentary canal. Good. So, the process of digestion starts in mouth and completes inside the small intestine. በነገራችን ላይ small intestine ሶስት የተለያዩ ክፍሎች አሉት። These are ileum, jejunum and duodenum. በነገራችን ላይ small intestine ሶስት ክፍሎች አሉት። The upper part of small intestine is said to be duodenum, jejunum. The lowest part is ileum. So, ሶስት ክፍሎች አሉት small intestine, duodenum, jejunum and ileum ብለን እንወስዳቸዋለን ማለት ነው። So, the process of digestion starts in the mouth and completes in the small intestine. So, the answer for question number 35 is mouth and then small intestine respectively. So, both physical and chemical digestion starts in mouth and completes in small intestine. Let's say for example, አንድ ምሳሌ እንውሰድ እስኪ። አንድ ፉድ አይተም እንውሰድና ለምሳሌ ፖታቶን መውሰድ እንችላለን። በነገራችን ላይ ፖታቶ ውስጥ high amount of starch አለ። ይህንን ስታርች የሚባለው ካርቦሃይድሬት ወደ ግሉኮዝ መቀየር አለበት ጥቅም ላይ የሚውል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ይህ ስታርች ኮምፕሌክስ ፎርም ኦፍ ፉድ ፖሊመር ስለሆነ ወደ ሞኖሳካራይድ መቀየር አለበት፣ ወደ ሲምፕል ሹገር ወደ ግሉኮዝ መቀየር አለበት። ከዛ በኋላ ጥቅም ላይ የሚውል ማለት ነው። So, starch is converted into maltose, ወደ maltose የሚባለው ዳይሳካራይድ converted ይሆናል inside the mouth by salivary amylase enzyme. Then maltose should be goes down into the small intestine. Inside small intestine, maltase የሚባል enzyme አለ። ይህን maltase የሚባል enzyme maltose ወደ glucose convert ያደርገዋል። So, starch must be converted into glucose. The process of digestion of starch starts in mouth and completes in the small intestine. How about proteins? Proteins are converted into peptones. Peptones are converted into peptides. Peptides are converted into amino acids. So, the physical digestion of protein starts in mouth and it completes in the small intestine. The same is true. Lipids. Lipids are physically converted into fat droplets. The conversion of lipids to fat droplets is said to be emulsification. This is done by the bile produced by the liver. But the physical digestion of lipid starts in mouth. Inside the small intestine, lipid converted into fat droplets by bile. Then fat droplets are converted into fatty acid and glycerols inside the small intestine. So the digestion of food completes in the small intestine. So the answer is mouth and small intestine. Mouth and small intestine. But look. The end product of glucose, the end product of carbohydrates, glucose